Hey there, it's Olivia Savannah here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and I know that I recently did an unhaul, but I'm gonna be doing another one. In January I had a bit of an unhaul moment, which is where I feel a bit about all the books on my shelf and I just want to unhaul everything, and I try my best to hold myself back and not just unhaul everything, but I did do a bit of unhauling that I think is going to be better for my shelves. And I also read some books in January that I don't think I need to keep a hold on for a very long time, so let's just do it. Let's get right down to the books I'm going to be unhauling. There's going to be a lot of DNFs because I realised that even though I don't typically DNF, if you've watched my Let's Talk DNFs video, you know that I'm not typically a natural DNFer. But because of the fact that I've got my 2023 TBR challenge going on, and because there's a bit of a competitive element to it, I feel more like I'm willing to DNF books, which is weird that I need to be given permission for me to feel like I can DNF something, and I guess it's something I need to work through and work on. But yeah, it's been quite freeing to not enjoy something and just let it go. So the first one I'm unhauling is this proof copy of The Kingdom of Back by Rena Barron. So this I misunderstood and I thought it was adult fantasy, but it's actually young adult fantasy, and me and young adult fantasy are not really on good terms at the moment. I really struggle to find a young adult fantasy that I can really enjoy lately, and it's just not my genre for the time being. I don't want to say ever, but it really hasn't been going down well for me. I read 200 pages of this, so that was a good chunk of the way in. It's a kind of witchy fantasy series where magic is involved, and we're following this main character who doesn't get any magic, but when children start going missing, she does this kind of like blood magic, which is kind of forbidden and takes away years of your life in exchange to gain magic so that she can be able to help find the missing children. And it was nice, but it was really okay. It was just feeling mediocre. And I'm more likely to DNF something, I found, if I think it's just going to be a mediocre 3-star rating. I really don't have time for books where I feel indifferent to them and I'm just turning the pages. I want to either love a book and give it 5 stars. Well, actually that's my goal for all books. But even if I'm not enjoying a book, then I can rant about it with someone and discuss it. But when it's a book where I'm just feeling okay about it, I'm just like, why am I still reading this? I'm bored, I'm not taking anything from it, and I'm barely processing the words. So at 200 pages, I decided to call it a day. Then I'm unhauling Memphis by Stringfellow. I've tried to read this multiple times, but I really have been struggling with it. A lot of black reviews on Bookstagram put this as their worst book of the year, and also I've seen that the author is a bit messy on Twitter and online when it comes to targeting and calling out reviewers who didn't like her book, so therefore I'm just going to let this one go. We have The Attic Child by Lola J, and it's really strange because I speed read the first 200 to about 250 pages of this in December, and then I couldn't bring it with me over Christmas because it was too big and I had limited suitcase space because I was going home. And then I came back and I had no interest in continuing. So this one is a historical fiction book, but it's also set in the present day. And in the historical past, we're following this little boy who's from Africa, and he's brought to the UK and separated from his family and separated from his parents to go and live with this white man who shows him off to all these people. And it's got the like colonialist undertones to it. And then in the present day, we're following this girl who I believe has been trapped in an attic in her childhood, and now she's out of that. And she's realised that the person who trapped her is now dead, the attic is now empty, and she kind of goes back and connects to this little boy who used to live in the attic. So there's those two timelines going on, and I hadn't really gotten to the point where the storylines had fused all that much. Even though it'd been 200 pages in, they were still kind of just in the throes of discovering the fact of who that boy was in the attic, but also for him, he was kind of just like, actually I don't like being in Britain, and that's as far as I got. But I was just feeling very like, about it. It was like, I'm enjoying it, but I don't love it, but I don't hate it, and I'm just reading it, and it's actually massive. It's over 400 pages for sure. Yeah, it's over 400 pages. And so I think I'm going to give this one to my grandma. I think this is something my grandma will read and enjoy. Then we have Toffee by Sarah Crossan. I read this one in January and I thought it was just okay. It wasn't my favourite novel in verse. It wasn't my least favourite novel in verse. And as I mentioned many times on my channel before, when it comes to keeping books, I try to keep only 4 or 5 stars, and even then just ones that I really, really love. I've got a lot of books. And so I need to be selective about the ones that I'm keeping in my home. So a similar story is happening for Lanny by Max Porter. I was a bit disappointed in this, and so I don't need to keep it. I just thought it was a mediocre read, and I don't actually think I want to be trying any more Max Porter in the future. It's just not the writing style for me, and writing style is a big part of any reading journey. I am also unhauling Wahala by Nikki May. Obviously, I read this in January. I didn't like it at all, and the strong dislike I have for it means that I don't want to keep it. I don't think it was good representation. I thought the storyline was really trashy, the characters were immature, the ending came out of nowhere, and just I had to suspend my disbelief so much of that ending that I couldn't believe it. So all in all, even though the cover is so gorgeous and I just love the title Wahala, which means trouble, I just think it wasn't for me. The package is so good, the premise is so good, but the execution was not so good. I'm also unhauling 2 Jeanette Winterson books. So I'm unhauling Frankissstein, and I'm unhauling Why Be Happy When You Can Be Normal by Jeanette Winterson. So I started reading this, which is her memoir, and I DNF'd it, and her memoir sounds like it's going to be impactful because it's about what it's like to grow up as a queer woman in this very like religious, and her mother is a certain way that kind of makes it harder for her to be herself, and it seems like a bit of a toxic relationship there, and it sounds like it's going to be a very impactful story, but I just was not vibing with Jeanette Winterson's writing style. And I've previously read a Jeanette Winterson book, I think it was called Wait. I think I read it in January last year as well, and I didn't like it, and I thought maybe I should try her non-fiction. But now, having read one of her fiction, one of her non-fiction, I see that my issue is with her writing style and not with the stories that she's telling, and so therefore I thought I would DNF it and pass it along to someone who might appreciate getting to see her story more. And a similar story is going for Frankissstein. I didn't even try to read this one, and I really wanted to hold on to it and read it because I love the story of Frankissstein and thought it would be very good to read a retelling, and it sounds like it's sci-fi and it's got like transness as a theme in this. But if I don't like the writing style, that it's not going to be a win-win situation if I don't like the writing style, so I'm just gonna pass it along. Because I read a slew of 3-star books in one go, I kind of went into the unhaul crises of, why do I have 3-star predictions on my TBR shelf? Why do I have books on my shelf that I want to try and read but I don't actually think are going to be new favourites? I think they're just going to be probably either mediocre, or they could pleasantly surprise me, but more likely than not mediocre. And so I was like, any 3-star books, I need to get rid of them. They can't stay on my shelf. So one of them was Daughter of Darkness by Katharine and Elizabeth Corr. This is a 3-star prediction for me, so I'm unhauling it from my TBR shelf. I got this one for free along with other books in a giveaway, but I wanted to try it, but also I just need to accept, I'm kind of in denial about the fact that young adult fantasy has not been working for me lately, and I need to get over the denial that young adult fantasy is not working for me and just not keep any. Just don't keep any. So therefore I need to let this go with a cold heart. Oh. And so similar stories going for the Ivory Key, which is by Akshaya, Raman, young adult fantasy. I think it's just going to be mediocre for me. I need to let them go instead of giving them tries. I'm unhauling The Forevers by Whitaker, which is interesting because I thought this was contemporary, but I looked into it more, and it's more so that there's 3 days until the end of the world, and these till the end of the world young adult contemporary books, they never work for me. For some reason they don't. I've read quite a few over the years. I remember reading like We All Looked Up by Tommy Wallach, which takes me back to my blogging days, but these kind of books don't tend to work for me, and that's the reason why I'm unhauling them. It's not to do with this particular book, it's just that I've read many within a similar vein and they never quite hit it for me. They never hit it. Boyfriends by Michael Pedersen. This is a memoir, and it's talking about his friendship with his friend, but also his friend is now deceased, and so it's just about like him talking about that friendship. And his writing style was so beautiful. This is a DNF. His writing style was so beautiful. It was lovely, and it was like reading magic and drinking in the words, but he was not really saying anything. Like, he wasn't saying anything. I was just like, this is nice, but like, come on, let's get to it. Let's get to the good bit. Let's get to the point of me picking this up. So while it was nice to read about this friendship and everything, it didn't, I thought it was going to focus more on the grief aspect. And I'm not saying that you need to write your grief and traumatic experiences of sadness for me to read, but I'm saying that's what I will pick up rather than what this gives me. So I felt like it was just not as neatly aligned as it needed to be. So I DNF'd it. I'm going to let it go. Somebody Loves You by Mona Arshi. This is a short book and I was thinking about it, but when I was unhauling my 3-star predictions, I decided to unhaul this one because I checked with Goodreads with some of my books and lots of people just found this to be quite mediocre. And so I thought, of those reviews of people I trust, I'm also going to find it mediocre. So rather than spend time reading, it's not even long, 154 pages, and I thought about keeping it because it was so short, but then I decided, why should I do that? Even 150 pages of time is 150 pages of time. Filippo, Me and the Cherry Tree. I read this one in January, I liked it, and I know that Simone is reading a lot of disabled fiction and non-fiction so that she can have a large scope of what book representation is like out there for her public speaking that she does on disability rights. I'm going to be giving this one to her basically, so that's where that's going. That's why it's being unhauled. I read Why Is Nobody Laughing, which was, again, I read this in January, and it was a very good depiction of a lot of really important themes such as being an immigrant and being a child of an immigrant, and also mental health representation, and also Indian Muslim representation. And it was, as I said, it was very, very good in terms of representation. I did think the story was a bit narrow and like claustrophobic and it could have expanded more, but overall I thought it was a decent enough read. It's just not one that I need to keep on my shelves even though I've read it. So yeah, all the rest of them are ones that I've read. I read The House of Shells in January and I thought it was a really good middle grade book that balanced the speculative elements with the realist ones, and it was really, really nice. But again, it's one that I don't need to keep on my shelves. I'm happy to pass this around and let other people read it. It's not my new favorite or anything. Parcel of Patterns. Again, these are basically just my January reads that I've decided not to keep anymore. So this is a classic that I read in January and I didn't like it. I thought it was very, very boring and stale, and even though the cover is lovely, I don't really feel that drawn to beautiful covers. I'm happy to let them go whether they look nice or not. This early reader's copy of Ada Rue and the Banished was a good read. I'm glad that I spent a morning reading this, and I also think it's one that can just go out into the world for other children to enjoy and learn from. I might give this to one of the parents that I know in my life. Grimwood, Let the Fur Fly. I really, really enjoyed this and I thought it was really funny and I thought it was really good, but also I don't need to keep it on my shelves. I had a good time. I'm not going to go back and read the first one of the series. I'm not going to continue the series, but also I think a child is going to really appreciate getting to find this, and I want to pass it along. I recommend this one a lot. This actually depicts growth for me, because I gave this one 4 stars, and often if I give a book 4 stars I usually just be automatically like, it can stay on my shelves, I gave it 4 stars. But there's 2 books in this unhaul that I gave 4 stars that I'm still giving away, and I think that shows how much I've grown as an unhauler. Even though people often watch my channel and they're like, wow, you unhaul so easily. It doesn't always come easily. And then I'm unhauling Please Make Me Pretty, I Don't Want to Die. It was a good poetry collection. It was solid. It wasn't my favourite, and so I'm just going to pass it along. And then last but not least, this is the other 4-star. I'm also giving away the poetry collection I Entered Without Words by Jodie Gladding. And I've never been one of these people, but this does not fit neatly on a shelf. Its size is so... Actually, never mind, I'm keeping it. No, I'm just going to keep it. That's it. I changed my mind. I changed my mind. That's fine, that's fine, you can change your mind. I was thinking about giving it away because it doesn't fit neatly on the shelf because it's longer than other books, so it really sticks out awkwardly. But I did give this one 4 stars and I did really like this poetry, and it was one of the first times I've been able to enjoy abstract poetry so much. If you watch my January wrap up, you see me talk about it and say that I really liked it. So I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna keep it. Okay, I'm gonna keep it. There you go. You get to stay. Anyway, so actually everything else I unhauled though, so I did unhaul my first 4-star book. Feel ashamed to change my mind last minute on camera, but there we go. There you have it. That is my unhaul. All of these books, except for that last one, will be leaving my shelves imminently. Please let me know in the comment section down below what was the last book you unhauled or the last book you read and didn't like. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't you forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video on my channel. As you can tell, after doing them 2 months in a row, I do a lot of unhauls, so stick around and see what makes it. You know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!